Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch a lot of movies and then talk about them, and also watch random movies thanks to the almighty algorithm. And with me, as always, is the amazing, the incredible, the Archie Andrews to my Jughead Jones, Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Sadden. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm so conflicted. Do I choose Betty or Veronica?
I'm so conflicted. Do I choose hamburger or milkshake?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. So this is one of our mini episodes where we talk about just what we've been watching lately called What You Watchin', although sometimes they become maxi episodes. Kyle, you said you've got a bunch to run through, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's holiday season as we record this, so we've had like 3 weeks, or actually 6 weeks that we haven't recorded. So I've had a lot of movies. So I'm gonna kind of just go through some of my favorites out of the group. So first off, we'll start off with a Netflix movie from 2021, Tick Tick Boom, starring Andrew Garfield. About now I can't think of the guy's name. The guy who
Jonathan
wrote
Larson, the creator of
Jonathan
Rent.
Larson, yes. Who created? I kept thinking Anthony Rapp, but I'm going, no, he was just in Rent. No, about the Jonathan Larson who wrote Rent, and this is a really, I think Lin-Manuel Miranda directed this, and it's a weird kind of meta because it's based off a like one person play that or like thing that he put on, but it's also about the writing of that while being that in itself. It's really weird, hard to describe, but I thought that it was done really well. The music was great, and Andrew Garfield was amazing in this. And if you are a fan of Rent, Jonathan Larson, all that stuff, or just kind of musicals in general, I would highly recommend this, and it's on Netflix. Then on HBO Max, I watched 8-Bit Christmas, a new movie with Neil Patrick Harris. This is,
How was that?
this was nothing spectacular, but it was just a good holiday watch. It's about Neil Patrick Harris who goes back home and he goes back to his parents' house with his daughter, and they go into the living room and they find his old NES, and he tells the story about the Christmas that he really wanted an NES. And for those of us who grew up in the 80s and know that feeling, it was kind of fun to watch because I remember when I wanted an NES for Christmas. And so
Nice.
it was a feel good movie. And like I said, I don't think it's going to be the most memorable Christmas movie, but during the holidays, it's a fun watch. Then I finally got around to watching on Disney Plus Black Widow from this year. A lot of movies from this year. I was a little hesitant going into this one because, I think Black Widow needed her own movie, but this was one of those too little too late. So I was like, we already know she died in the MCU. Spoilers. What are you going to get out of this? And what we got was Florence Pugh, and she's awesome. And the movie
Also,
itself,
don't forget David Harbour as Red Guardian.
yes. And so I hope he shows up again in the Marvel universe as
Yes.
well. I will say, spoilers if you don't want to hear this, but I did watch Hawkeye also. Did you watch that?
Yes.
The fact that we got Florence Pugh from Black Widow, Hawkeye made Black Widow an even more important movie because when Haley Steinfeld and Florence Pugh were on screen together, it was absolute magic, and they stole the show with Hawkeye.
Oh, absolutely. They were so much fun.
Hawkeye was everything I wanted it to be and more, and I would highly recommend that too. But Black Widow was actually a really fun, cool movie, and I liked it. It was a good action spy flick. Then I watched, I didn't even realize this came out, another movie this year that I rented from the library, Wrath of Man, a new Guy Ritchie film from this year.
I want to say it came out like it just at a weird time where nobody saw it.
Yeah. And this is, I just happened to catch a preview or like a trailer online, and I was like, what is this? And then it said, and I didn't even know who directed it because I just watched the trailer and I didn't even pay attention to who. And I was like, oh, cool, a Jason Statham movie. This will be fun action flick. And then I watched it and Guy Ritchie comes up on the screen. I'm like, what am I watching? I've never even heard of this. And this was actually a less frantic Guy Ritchie, and I kind of liked it. It was kind of cool. Jason Statham plays a guy who gets a job as security for, the money trucks go and pick up money from banks and stuff. And you find out that he's trying to weed out some people who did him wrong, and, violence and fun fighting ensue, and nothing to write home about, but it was actually a pretty good flick.
Nice.
Then again, going with my everything new this time, I watched Free Guy from 2021.
Free Guy was one of those movies that kind of surprised me of just how good it was.
Yeah, there was a lot in there that, like, again, it's Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds, but I like Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds. So
This one definitely was more earnest than his usual sarcasm.
it was, and I liked the character in this. It was just kind of a fun movie. And a lot of great little nods to video games in there. Just like not it, I didn't feel like there was a lot of specific nods, but like kind of general nods to like certain genres of games and everything and online playing.
Yeah, it's kind of like I would almost describe it as a better version of Ready Player One.
Yeah, it kind of was. It was, and when you get another Ryan Reynolds in there, I won't say any more than that. That's kind of fun too. I would recommend Free Guy. It's funny. It's cute. It's a good movie if you're a fan of video games.
Yeah, and ultimately pretty sweet.
Yeah. Then also on DVD, I watched another new movie from this year, 2021. I watched Spiral. So I'm saying this year. I'll probably post this in 2022.
Okay.
This is Spiral from the Book of Saw, and this is that new one with Chris Rock. He plays a cop, and there's like a copycat jigsaw killer, and he tries to solve it, and there's some really nasty traps in there. I didn't think this one was too bad. I kind of liked following the story. It was kind of a detective figuring out who did it kind of thing, because it's not Jigsaw this time. So
it's the Riddler.
It is. It was the Riddler.
I knew it.
And it'll be continued in The Batman.
Of course.
It was okay. I enjoyed it. But anyway, I'll move on to the next one because it's another Saw movie. I think it was a little less grotesque, even though there were some contraptions in there that were kind of I was cringing in my seat in a couple of them. I will say.
Did they have the bear trap, the classic? The bear trap on your head?
I don't think they did.
Oh.
But I think it was also directed by the guy who did like 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 or something like that. So it's someone who's familiar with the franchise. So if you like some of the old Saw movies, then I'd recommend it. It was a good addition. Then another new movie I watched, Here Today, on DVD. This one is with Billy Crystal, and I think it was directed by Billy Crystal. And it also had Tiffany Haddish in it.
Nice.
And he plays this aging comedy writer. Like, he writes for a comedy show. He wrote books, and and he was real big at the time, like when he was younger. And so like he still gets to write on this sketch show or whatever. And you find out he's got dementia or Alzheimer's, where he's starting to forget things. And so he ends up, and he's got like a strained relationship with his family. It's very formulaic. He befriends Tiffany Haddish through just a weird series of events and how she meets him. But it's very sweet at the end, and you will cry happy, sad tears. A good performance by both of them. Like I said, formulaic. If you're not into movies where you're going to know exactly what's going to happen, then don't watch this one. But good performances led to me liking this movie a little bit. So then I watched another 2021 film on DVD, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. More Ryan Reynolds.
I saw this one in theaters.
Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson together. That's just gold right there.
Oh, and Salma Hayek was great too.
Oh, yes. When she just starts yelling at people, I'm like, I could just watch you yell at people all day long. She's great. Those two guys were great. This is just a goofy movie of him. He's taking a sabbatical, so he's trying not to use violence. So that's the twist in this movie. And it leads to some good gags. And then finally, eventually he realizes who he is. And I won't say who it is, but there's a great cameo by someone playing his father when Ryan Reynolds goes to meet his father. And that was
a great surprise reveal.
And it was such a funny scene with them and Samuel L. Jackson just in the back going, "What?" But I don't even want to reveal who it was because I was cracking up at that scene. So Again, more Ryan Reynolds that I'm recommending.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't tell, I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan, so I'm going to recommend a lot of movies I watched with him. Another one I'm going to recommend is F9, the Fast Saga, because I love the Fast and Furious
I
movies.
also saw this one in theaters.
I love that they're so concerned about the continuity that they actually gave a reason and excuse as to how Han is still alive.
Yeah,
And that's not really a spoiler because he was in the trailer, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
And they finally went to space.
they finally went to space. So, I mean, if you're a fan of how ridiculous this series is getting, then yeah, go watch this movie. It's
Telling
and
you, the next one they're just going to travel back in time.
I like also how they treat the character of Brian like the character is dead, but they say many times that he's just at home.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
It's but it's funny though, because it's like, oh yeah, we named my kid Brian. It's like, you don't name your kid after your friend if they're like not, like that's something you do if you had a friend that passed away and you're like, you want to remember them,
Mm-hmm.
name your kid. But like the way they acted, it felt like Brian was like dead in the Fast and Furious universe, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it is still nice though, because it was tragic what happened to Paul Walker. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, this goes a lot of more ridiculous stuff, and then we get John Cena as Vin Diesel's brother. I don't know. Now, I love. There's a couple of scenes where they like, who are the two, the ones who played like the comic relief,
Yeah.
Tyrese,
Yeah, and Ludacris.
and Ludacris. And is it Ludacris that's just going, man, have you ever thought about all the missions we're on? And then he had just gotten shot up. He's like, I just got shot to hell. Look at my jacket. I don't have a scratch on me.
We're immortal.
We're immortal, man.
Yes.
It is exactly what you expect from a Fast and Furious movie. So there you go. There's another one I want to talk about, was from 2021, The Protege, which was a Martin Campbell movie, which I didn't know he had one coming out this year.
Saw trailers for that. Never watched it.
I have to say it was a bit of a letdown. It's got Michael Keaton and I can't remember the girl's name now. But
isn't it Maggie Q, I think is her name?
Maggie Q, yes. And then another Samuel L. Jackson. See, it's all coming full circle. Lots of Ryan Reynolds, lots of Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel Jackson trains Maggie Q. He finds her in Vietnam. He's like a killer for hire, and then he trains her, and then something plot-wise happens so that Michael Keaton's after them. And unless I just wasn't following it very well, like it was very unclear what was happening, was my problem with the movie. Good action, and everyone was fine in it, but it was a little bit of a letdown for a Martin Campbell movie.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. So I was kind of excited when I saw that he had a movie out this year, because I like a lot of his stuff. Then another film from 2021, I watched The Green Knight with Dev Patel.
I never got around to this one.
This one is I usually don't like a slow burn, but this one kind of is, and but I enjoyed this one. It was Dev Patel plays Sir Gawain. Well, actually, he's not a knight yet in this film, and it's based off of some old poem or something like that.
Very old poem.
And how he challenged the Green Knight who came into the castle, and then it turns out that he was a little too aggressive, and now in a year he has to go face the same fate that he gave the Green Knight. And so it's just him struggling to come to terms with that as he travels there.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of enjoyed this movie. It was, like I said, a little bit of a slow burn, but there was no like intense ending, but it was just kind of a character piece, and I really enjoyed it. Then we'll get off at 2021 for a second and go way back to 1934. I watched The Thin Man on DVD.
Nice.
I had never seen this before. William Powell and Myrna Loy play Nick and Nora Charles.
They drink so much.
And Nick Charles is constantly drunk. He, even when he wakes up in the middle of the night because Nora wakes him up, he's like, "Oh, you're going to keep talking? I'm going to go get a drink." And it's fantastic. Like, their chemistry in this show, I want to watch the rest of these movies, because
there's a bunch of them.
Basically he's he's an ex-detective who then marries Nora, who is just a rich woman, and they just live off of her money. And then they go back to New York where he lived before, and someone disappears. And so everyone is like, oh, Nick, are you going to be on the case? Are you going to, take this case, this detective case, and find this missing person? And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't do that anymore, blah, blah, blah. And then he finally gets roped into it. And it's really cute. And again, Powell and Myrna Loy's chemistry together is amazing.
And they drink so much this entire movie.
They drink so much. And this is a high recommend.
Mm-hmm.
So I would really recommend seeking that out. Now that I dipped back that far, I'm going to go back to 2021 with The Matrix Resurrections.
I have not seen this one yet, and I know that Neo and Trinity are back.
They are.
And how's the action?
The action's pretty good. They try and do a little bit different with it, but I don't want to say too much since you haven't seen it if you're going to see it.
How's Jonathan Groff? Is he good in it too?
Yeah, I actually liked him as the new agent or whatever. And another double up here. This is another NPH film.
Oh, yeah?
I saw him in the trailer and I was like, well, I hope he's in this more than just like a bit part. And he is. And it was great to see they somehow added Neil Patrick Harris to the Matrix movies.
Now we just need Ryan Reynolds.
Right? And Samuel L. Jackson. I'm still debating on what I feel about this movie, about the way it was written. And it's very meta, but almost in a heavy-handed way.
Mm-hmm.
But the action is good. I don't know. This one I have to think more on. It was good to see, I will say it was good to see Keanu Reeves back in the role. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've got kind of mixed feelings on this one right now.
Yeah, love him or hate him, nobody makes a movie like the Wachowskis.
Yeah. And this one was just Lana, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, again, another 2021 film. I watched Snake Eyes. I watched this one because the G.I. Joe movies haven't been that great, but I watched this one because I like Henry Golding.
Mm-hmm.
And probably about the only reason to watch this, because the action was just kind of unwatchable.
Well, there
was a scene on these moving cars and stuff like that, and it was hard to follow anything. It's an origin story, like we needed another origin story. It was meh. It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Take it or leave it. If you're a big G.I. Joe fan, maybe watch it because you got characters in there. Like, I was actually kind of disappointed because even Samara Weaving, who I love,
Mm-hmm.
I think she's great in everything. She played Scarlet in this, and I really didn't care for her acting in this.
You think it might have been poor direction?
It could have been, because I don't think the writing was real great in this either.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, honestly, if you're a huge G.I. Joe fan, I might actually stay away from it.
Oh, yeah.
So a little bit of a disappointment. Another 2021 film, I watched a movie called Werewolves Within, and I had never heard of this. I never heard of this one before, and I popped it in because I saw a trailer for it, and I was like, that looks cool. I'll watch that. I popped it in, and one of the first credits that came up, when they show the production houses, all that stuff, it was Ubisoft. I was like, what is Ubisoft? What?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked it up, and this is based on a video game called Werewolves Within. I'm like, I've never even heard of that game. And maybe
it was like a mobile game or something, or
it could have been. But here's what I'll say about it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and this ranks right up there with one of the best video game movies now, even though I had never heard of the game before.
I guess, technically speaking.
This was a park ranger moves into this small town, and just a lot of quirky folks there, and something killed a couple of people. There's a couple missing people, and then people start turning on each other. There's a lot of political commentary in there too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very heavy-handed, but it's done in a funny way. About there's a pipeline that wants to go through and buy property, and people are fighting about that. I want the money from that. Let them go through. I don't want you ruining the environment, so I'm not going to give up my property. So then people are bickering about that. Then there's stuff about people who own guns and all this stuff. And I feel like it, because there's also a flamboyantly gay couple too. So I feel like it really plays both sides without going heavy handed one way or the other. And I thought it kind of made fun of both sides a little bit. So that made it a little more fun. And then the funny thing is, as I was watching this, I'm going, when are we actually going to see the werewolf? And then it clicked. I'm like, this isn't really about that.
Yep.
And I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought all the characters were just quirky enough to be fun and really draw you into the movie without being so quirky that it was annoying.
Yeah, the game Werewolf has been around as a card game for decades, so.
Yeah, and I don't know if that has anything to do with this. This is called Werewolves Within. So
I mean, it sounds like it might be a version of it.
yeah, but if you haven't heard of this game or movie, because I just happened to run across a trailer because I watch a lot of trailers online just to look for new stuff to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So never even had an inkling this was even a movie, and I checked it out, and this is going to be one of my higher recommends just because I don't think it's one people know about. Then just a couple more movies. I watched 2020 film A Quiet Place Part 2. This was a good sequel.
I'm just disappointed it wasn't called A Quieter Place.
A Quieter Place. Right? And then the third one is because they're making a third one, they could have made it The Quietest Place.
Or A Very Quiet Christmas Place.
we it's quiet it's quiet in space. Well, or is that the fourth movie they need to go to space? I don't know.
Well, if you're gonna do like a Quiet Place Christmas Silent Night.
Silent Night, Quiet Place.
Yes.
This one I wasn't sure what to expect because I really liked the first movie and I didn't know if we really needed a sequel to it. And they took the care to John Krasinski, I think, helped write this sequel. And then he came on to direct it because I don't think he wanted to do this either. And even I was reading that Emily Blunt didn't want to do this until she finally had John Krasinski tell her what it was going to be about and all this stuff. And then that convinced her. And then they added Cillian Murphy to the cast, and that's always a good add. And it just it continues. It kind of shows the beginning. At the beginning of the movie, it kind of shows the beginning of the raid, just to give you an idea of what happened at the time and to introduce a new character, of course. But then it cuts to immediately after the events of the first movie. And from there, it's just venturing away from the house and what they find. And I really liked this. If you like the first one, I would highly recommend this one.
Nice.
And then another sequel that I watched from 2021 was Escape Room: Tournament of Champions.
I never saw this one, but I kind of wanted to. It looked dumb.
Did you see the first one?
I didn't even see the first one.
Oh, okay. I don't think either one of them got real good reviews, but I kind of dug both of them, even the sequel. And I actually like what they did with the sequel. The only issue I have is if someone could tell me how they timed getting all of the people that they got into this new thing, because it was completely random when the main character went. So how did they get them all together? That's what I want to know. But other than that, after that happened and the movie got going and it got into the traps again and all the rooms and stuff, I was like, okay, I'm into this again. It's fun. I like the creativity of the escape rooms in both movies, and it's very tense because people do die in it, but obviously some people survive. So you don't know who's going to die in each room, and they build up the tension pretty good in both movies. So this was another good horror sequel. I liked this one.
Nice.
Then final movie that I watched, I actually just got done watching it about an hour ago, was Encanto from 2021 on Disney Plus.
I also watched this one just the other day.
Well, we can talk about it and then go into your movies.
Well, we don't talk about Bruno, that's for sure.
We don't talk about Bruno, no. Bruno, no.
Yeah, so songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and seemed like to me he was firing on all cylinders on this one. So
talented man, though.
Obviously, very talented. So, and he's a good songwriter. And if it's the same, it's like if it's a situation, he's like Alan Menken. It's like, yeah, I'll take another Disney paycheck. I'm not going to say no.
While I was watching this, and then because I didn't know that he did this until the credits rolled at the end of the movie, when his name popped up, I go, he's the new Alan Menken. Because what was it, the 90s? Alan Menken just wrote everything.
Pretty much.
But I will have to say that this one actually has some of my favorite music from him, because some of the songs were really wonderful in this. Because I've said in the past on this podcast that some of his music starts to get sounding the same to me. And
that's fair.
And this one, there was a little similar, after they said Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the songs, I was like, okay, I can tell that. But while watching it, I was like, it was just different enough, and there was a little added spice to it that I really the first song I didn't care for, and I was like, uh-oh. I was like, am I not gonna like this movie? Like I didn't love the first song. And then after that, every song afterwards was like, oh, I really dig the tune, the choruses, the like just and the animation. And
Mm-hmm.
but the music ended up being really great, other than the first song. So I was pleasantly surprised after that first song.
I actually really like the first song, but that's just me.
It wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
I like it seemed, I don't know, there was just something that wasn't catching me with
Mm-hmm.
it. But maybe on a rewatch, having watched the rest of the music, maybe I'll enjoy it a little bit more with that first song.
Mm-hmm.
I like the animation. The only thing, me and my family, I watched it with my whole family tonight, and we were all commenting on, to progress the storyline. The one thing I didn't like about the movie is every one of her family members was an asshole.
Yeah, they can be kind of jerky to each other.
It wasn't even jerky. They were all like sons of bitches and assholes. They were awful to her. Like they were awful to the Bruno character. They were awful to her. Like and it was relentless. And I was just like, why are you trying to save this family that like act like they hate you like
Mm-hmm.
constantly? It was kind of bothering me actually how rude they made it, because like the mother, the father, the grandmother, the aunts and uncle, like it was like only the cousins actually seemed to give a rat's for her.
Yeah, the other one who really liked her was Antonio.
Yeah. And but luckily there were like some of the cousins were really great characters. I
Mm-hmm.
love like it's about a family with magical powers and whatever. And so
Except
like
one,
except for one,
our main
and
character.
some of them had they all had different powers. So like the one who could change shapes into other
Mm-hmm.
people, there was a lot of really good gags with that one. And I actually like most of them had really good gags. Him, and then the girl who could hear everything, there
Mm-hmm.
was always just that, don't tell anybody, and then you look across the room and it's like, I heard that.
It's like, oh no.
She's gonna tell everyone. The only one I didn't think, like the strong one, I didn't think had a lot of great scenes, but she had one of my favorite songs.
He did have a
So
great song.
yeah, this one is a really great family movie, and this is another high recommend for me. It's on Disney Plus.
Definitely.
So, what else have you been watching?
Okay, well, I watched a lot. I'll skip through some of them because it's been so long that I barely remember half of them. Let's go. My first one I watched was The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, made by Fritz Lang while he was still in Germany, one of the last movies he made before he fled to the U.S. because of the Nazis. And this one is interesting. It was co-written with his wife, and he's an anti-fascist, yet she was also a Nazi sympathizer, so there's this weird tension throughout the movie. And it's basically a movie about a supervillain named Dr. Mabuse, who may be crazy, but then also has his power to like hypnotize people to do his bidding. And so yeah, it really feels like because the first time I heard about this was when Christopher Nolan talked about how he watched it a lot when he was writing The Dark Knight, how it's essential for how to write a good villain.
Oh, okay.
And it has some cool vintage special effects. There's even like this weird jigsaw type room where they have to figure out a way to get out of this room. It's like a
I
weird
yeah,
recording.
I'd
It
like to see
definitely
this one. I like Fritz Lang, so
mhm.
Fritz Lang.
German expressionist. So yeah, feels like Batman. Feels like it could easily be a Batman movie.
Oh, well, and that's the thing is like I'm such a huge Batman fan, and so much of like Gotham City and all the different iterations have a lot of influence from German what is it? German, what'd you say? German
German
expressionism.
expressionism. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of influence from that throughout all of the different iterations of Gotham City. And
Hmm.
and I like that stuff. So I really do need to check out this film sometime.
Yeah, definitely great, solid film. Next I watched. Well, I'm gonna go through my highlights. One I really liked was Smooth Talk, which had a very, very young Laura Dern, where she's like a 15-year-old girl, just kind of not doing much, going to the mall, trying to hang out with boys, not doing very well, and her parents are worried about her. And then at one point, this mysterious stranger comes in, and then it's like, oh, this can't end well because she's home alone, can't really talk to people on the phone. And yeah, it's a chilling scene, and you kind of know what happens. You don't see anything, but he's definitely bad stuff definitely happens to her, and then she seems to be she's scarred, but I guess still alive afterwards. So yeah, smooth talk. Don't watch this one with your girls because gets very creepy for one very important scene.
Oh,
But if you like Laura Dern, she's great even from the very beginning in this one.
I'm hit and miss on Laura Dern. I think she's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll check it out sometime. But.
Mm-hmm. Next, I saw High Anxiety, the classic comedy with Mel Brooks. Is his tribute to Hitchcock, where he plays like a psychiatrist who comes to decide who's like gets a new job as the director of like the such and such institute for the very very nervous, and of
Oh yeah.
course there's tons of Hitchcock jokes throughout the time. So if you've seen Hitchcock movies, it's very rewarding, but also it stands on its own very well. I'd pair this one well with Blazing Saddles.
I have this one in my Mel Brooks Blu-ray collection.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. A lot of his older stuff is pretty good stuff. So.
Absolutely. Next, I watched Sword of Doom, which is a Japanese samurai film from the mid '60s, not starring Toshiro Mifune, but he's in it. So it's about this kind of wandering samurai who's just a jerk who just kills for the sake of killing, not much. Just because he can, really. But it has an amazing finale where, like, it starts out where, like, you think he's just going crazy, slashing at nothing. Then there's this giant action scene where it looks like he just keeps slashing and killing many people. And you see some blood, some gore. It was intended to be, like, the start of a trilogy, but the trilogy never got made. But still, the film we got is very solid. Sword of Doom. And also, just a great title.
Right? That makes me want to watch it alone. I like a good samurai film.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not it's like a non-Kurosawa samurai film that's also very good.
Nice.
Next I watched Company Cast album. It's under an hour long, and it's about the recording of the original cast album for the musical company, which is one of the first big hits that Stephen Sondheim did, where he was also writing the music instead of just as a lyricist. So it's cool to see him because he passed away this past year. So it's kind of cool to see them in the studio and how all that works. And just going through like take after take after take of a song and them getting angry at each other. But then, of course, they obviously made the album and it's a great album.
Oh,
it's really,
yeah.
So if you like musicals and you like looking at sort of the creative process, I definitely recommend that one.
Okay. One thing I didn't mention with Tick, Tick, Boom is because of Sondheim, about Sondheim was that he's a character in that movie because, Larson met him and everything. Mm-hmm. And he's portrayed by Bradley Whitford, who does a good job.
Nice.
And then there is a scene where there's Sondheim leaves a voice message for Larson. And Lin-Manuel Miranda asked him about the message and said, "Oh, here's the message that I want to put on there, like have Whitford put on there." And Sondheim said, "Well, this is the way I would say it." So he goes, "Well, I'll just say it onto this tape." And then he gave it to Miranda, who put the actual Sondheim recording into the movie.
That's cool.
And so it was kind of sad because we watched that movie, and then I think it was a couple days later that's when I learned Sondheim passed away. And so I think a lot of people were commenting about that, like that just that came out, and then you heard his actual voice in the movie, and then he ended up passing away, and so it was kind of sad.
Yeah, but absolutely an enormous talent who will be very much missed and left one hell of a legacy, that's for sure.
Yes.
Next, I watched Holiday in Handcuffs, which this is like an ABC Family film starring Melissa Joan Hart and Mario Lopez, where she's supposed to she lives in New York City as an artist, not doing very well, working at a crappy diner, and then she her boyfriend breaks up with her, so then she says she sees Mario Lopez come in, she's like, okay. So she kidnaps him at gunpoint with this really old antique gun that they happen to have at the diner. And then she takes him to the mountains to have this family get together. And at first he doesn't want to, do anything with it. Then they slowly start playing along, and it's kind of sweet, but it's just weird and bizarre and pretty goofy. And of course, they fall in love and everything. But yeah. And one of my favorite parts was the fact that this cabin where most of this movie was shot was Melissa Joan Hart brought her son with her, and her son got sick. So then, like, this nasty, like, flu virus spread to everyone in the cabin, the entire cast, and then so they called it the Petri dish.
That sounds like quite the holiday movie.
Yeah, so if you're in the if you're in the mood for just a weird holiday movie, and not quite a Hallmark quality film, I'd recommend that.
Not even Hallmark quality, huh?
Hmm.
Is it Netflix holiday special quality?
No, this wasn't. Yeah, this was. I think this was on the Hulu. Yeah, and it was made for ABC Family. So
Oh, there you go. They're all in on the game now. It's a lucrative business that pumping out those holiday films.
yeah. Then I watched Dead or Alive from 1997. You seen this one?
No.
This is for Takashi Miike Films, and he was just kind of a director who he'll direct anything and everything. So weird, gross action films, but then he's also done like shows designed for young women, young girls. So he has a lot of fans just from all over the place. Probably
Is
most
is he
famous
the
for
one who did
directing.
like Audition and stuff?
Yeah, it's that guy, the audition
Okay.
guy. So this is before that. He made basically about the entire like first 10 minutes is just this giant montage of debauchery with like people doing drugs, people drinking, shooting each other. It's all about like a yakuza who wants to like take over the underground, the criminal underworld, and like a cop going after him, and it's just bonkers all the way through.
I think isn't that he's pretty much known for bonkers movies, right?
Yeah, so it's definitely just like it's one to because you won't forget it once you see it. It's so great.
I need to check out some more of his stuff. I don't
Yeah,
know if
he's
I
done
don't know if I've
so
seen any of
much.
his stuff. I've had to have seen something by him, but I
He
can't think off the
actually
top of
did
my head.
direct the more recent Blade of the Immortal. So
I might have actually seen that.
yeah, I remember we talked about that on the podcast once.
Yeah.
Next, I watched Come and See, which is a very very gripping anti-war film where it's about a boy living in modern day Belarus, and he goes off to join the war effort against the Nazis, and then he just witnesses atrocities for the next 2.5 hours.
Oh no.
Yeah, and
Another
they
feel
don't
good
pull any.
holiday movie.
Yeah, they don't pull any punches on this one. It's nasty, but it's also very extremely powerful.
What was that called?
It's called Come and See. I watched it on the Criterion Channel.
Okay.
Next, I watched A Christmas Wedding Tale. So I looked up. I was like Googled what's the worst possible Hallmark movie, and this is what they came up with. And it takes place in California, and it's about two people who fall in love because like their dogs meet at a dog park and fall in love. So it's narrated by the dogs about how these two people got married and get ready to have like a wedding on Christmas, but it doesn't really feel very Christmassy at all because it takes place in California where it's always nice and like wine country.
It's a dog's purpose, the Christmas
Yeah,
story.
I guess. And this one is like about them trying to get married, third act breakup, all this other stuff that happens. But then there's like one character supposed to be like the main man's best friend. He was called like Dollar Store McDreamy because he kind of looked like Patrick Dempsey. It's just, if you want a mood for just like an absolute kind of boring, dumb holiday movie, I recommend this one. It'd be fun to like, it's good. It's good to joke around with. You can talk over this one and not miss anything.
So one to watch with a friend.
Yeah, one to watch with a friend and maybe a couple drinks. Or maybe if you're watching it with like a friend and two robots.
Yes.
Next, I watched Bringing Down the House. This one was with Steve Martin
And
and like Queen
Queen
Latifah.
Latifah.
Yeah, because they meet up, was thought for like a blind date. Turns out she's like just out of prison for a crime she didn't commit. He's like a dumb lawyer, and it's all about trying to figure out how they can make this work. And then, of course, they do make it work. And then, kind of
I
sweet.
think I saw this one.
I think what I really like about this one is just how weird it is, and just because it involves, and at one point it involves, Steve Martin in his Steve Martininess trying to go into like a nightclub and act like all cool and gangster like a rapper. And of course he fails miserably, but it's funny, and he's kind of more of a certain self-awareness of it.
Yeah, I think I remember laughing at this movie. I don't recall much about it, so I don't know what that says about it, but I vaguely remember thinking it was kind of enjoyable.
Yeah, and then one character I really liked was played by Eugene Levy, who was like Steve Martin's friend, and he was just absolutely obsessed and just is like falling deeply, madly in love with the Queen Latifah throughout it. So then he starts using this dumb slang and coming out of Eugene Levy. It's funny.
Awesome.
And we talked about El Encanto, and then I also watched the other big movie that came out in theaters. You may have heard of this one. It's called Spider-Man No Way Home.
I don't know about this one.
Oh, yeah?
What is this? No spoilers, please. I'm waiting for the
Okay.
Blu-ray.
Put simply, the basic plot from the trailers is that people find out who Spider-Man is, and then, of course, so now he gets into some legal trouble while also trying to figure out the press being against him because, J. Jonah Jameson is back, and this time he's back as like this Alex Jones InfoWars type. And there's some great gags with his, at one point he just stops to like sell some supplements in the middle of his broadcast.
Nice.
Yeah, so he's back to all of his J. Jonah Jameson-ness. So then, okay, what do I do? What do I do? My whole life is falling apart because everyone knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So then he goes to like get help from Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange wants to do this spell where people who will forget who he is. But then, of course, nothing goes as planned. And now we've got some villains coming in from other universes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this one.
Yep. And I won't say anything more, but there's a lot of fun jokes here and there for longtime Spider-Man fans and just longtime Marvel fans.
Awesome.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. I hope they do more with Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but this also would work as an endpoint, I think. But come on. I mean, Spider-Man is like one of the most popular superheroes of all time. So there's always going to be more Spider-Man movies.
Yeah. And I really like Tom Holland. I think that they increase his contract or something like that finally.
Something like that. I would love to get to a point where we either get Ben Reilly to show up, Miles Morales to show up, or if we even get Spider-Girl, where he gets to grow up and have a daughter.
Yeah.
That would be cool. So that's all I watched, and what do you think you're going to watch next?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not even sure. It's been so crazy with holidays and all that stuff. I did buy No Time to Die on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when I'm going to get around to watching that because I kind of want to rewatch actually some more of the Daniel Craig, the Daniel Craig Bond stuff. So maybe I'll get around to that one by next time, or maybe not. But that's one of the next movies I want to watch. What about yourself?
Yeah, for me, I'm probably most looking forward to. If I can catch it in theaters, I'd really like to see the Guillermo del Toro Nightmare Alley. Because Nightmare Alley is one of my favorite movies, and of course, when he's doing it on the same material, you got to see it. Him with an all-star cast. We're like, even if the movie isn't that great, it'll still be great to look at because his movies are always visually very interesting.
Yes, they are. That is so. But so that's what we got up next, and hopefully I gave some good recommendations for people because I watched a lot of crap.
And hopefully I gave some good recommendations too, because I never watch crap. I only watch the good stuff.
I watch good crap. But anyway, yeah, you're saying you find us online. I'm on Twitter at AwesomeKM.
And I'm on Twitter at Noah_Saturn. It's spelled Satern.
We're also on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch, and you can email us wedon'tknowwhattowatch@gmail.com. And go and like and subscribe and all that stuff.
Until then, keep watching movies, and I've been watching too much Riverdale.
Oh, no. Keep watching.
Bye-bye.